time to grow with the SEO Queen. Receive the perfect leads like never before. No traffic is gonna explode. It's time to grow.
Welcome to the Jazz and Tech Lounge with Lady V, a podcast about the secret to success in technology, music, and business on LaShonda Radio, iHeartRadio, and iTunes. LaShonda Radio, always talking about everything from New York City. You can listen to the Jazz and Tech Lounge with Lady V on any mobile phone or tablet device. The Jazz and Tech Lounge with Lady V, where we explore tech and enjoy the music and learn the secrets to music and technological success. Please follow us online at www.ladyv.com and on all social networks at LADYZHG. Please pull out your phones. If you're already listening to this, you can actually close the Bashani app and you can switch screens and go to your Instagram and follow me live on Instagram while you're listening without the audio being discontinued. So please go ahead and go and follow me on Lady V on Instagram. That's LADYZHE if you didn't get it the first time. So my next guest is a woman that we all need to hear her wisdom. She is none other than Dr. LaShonda Green, PhD, MBA. She is a doctor of psychology. She has a master's of arts in psychology, a master's of business administration, has studied at some phenomenal institutions, LaSalle University, and also the State University of New Jersey. She is a licensed clinical psychologist who specializes in the psychological care for those who reside in skilled nursing facilities and also those in the corrections system. And she has agreed to come on the Jazz and Tech Lounge this week to discuss with us something that's extremely important. Hashtag surviving coronavirus. It is getting really serious out here, and we definitely need to know what can we do so that we do not go crazy and choke out the very family that we love as we're sheltering in place. Amen? So without further ado, I want to introduce to some and present to others Dr. LaShonda T. Green. How are you today?
Good. Thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
Yeah. I'm so glad you came on. I'm so happy to see your smiling face. And so I know you have a lot of great advice. I enjoyed chatting with you before we started rolling. So tell us, what drew you to psychology? What made you go into this field?
Well, initially, like my resume points out, I was heavily set on pursuing business goals. I just really thought I'd be set up. I'd be a CEO somewhere. I thought I'd be in charge, calling the shots. I'm very much drawn to numbers. I'm a numbers bottom line type of girl because numbers are concrete. They're definitive, and you can trust them. You know, 1
Right.
plus 1 is going to be 2. 1 plus 1 is 2 today, and tomorrow is going to be 2, and the day after that. So I find comfort in that sort of consistency.
Right.
But I realized I wasn't living my true calling according to my spiritual beliefs. And so I did the inner work, meditated and prayed. And so I was led down this path of clinical psychology, which in essence, I'm a compassion worker.
Mm-hmm.
That's really all I am. The psychologists and people who are in mental health, we are simply put compassion workers. And so I am totally convinced that I am doing the work that I was supposed to be, that I'm here to do.
So you believe that you're living in your purpose. I'm
living in my purpose. This is definitely what I was supposed to be doing. I'm doing it. And I had never even seen myself. I mean, when I started going to school, you don't hear the language about Black people or Black women becoming psychologists. So I didn't hear that anywhere. It wasn't a conversation. No one planted that seed. I didn't see it. There was no one who was modeling this type of career before me. I didn't have access to it. So it wasn't an organic sort of longing. So I just had sort of it wasn't a crisis, but I just did the reflective work, and here I am. So that's how I know I'm supposed to be doing this.
Okay, so now if I read your resume right, you're currently working with skilled nursing facilities. Is that correct?
So right now, yes, I'm a behavioral health consultant, and what I do, I assist patients who are in subacute rehab settings. Who
Okay.
it's a step down from the hospital, so it's in between the hospital post discharge and going home. And for
Okay.
those people who are not yet ready to go home, but not severe enough to remain in the hospital, they have to, participate in some occupational or physical therapy. Then I come along and I assist them bedside, and I do kind of brief interventions, brief cognitive behavioral therapy, solution focused therapy, and I
Mhm.
just help them manage their emotions. There's a change in independence, there's a difficulty in adjusting to their medical status. So I talk with
Right.
family. There are some families who are getting used to their loved ones, developing Alzheimer's and
Mhm.
um,
Mhm. Mhm.
amputees. So it's quite an array of things.
Okay. So it sounds like you have you're dealing with people who have a variety of challenges.
Oh
Now,
yes,
I want to ask you about your experience working with those in the corrections system.
yes.
As a compassion worker, you mentioned before we started recording, you mentioned that that's your ideal audience. What is so? What draws you to that population? And after you finish that, I want to ask you what lessons can we learn from both the skilled nursing and the CO population, because they're both two confined
Right.
populations, and what can we l- learn? What recommendations do you have for us to come out of this experience, this global experience, healthier on the other side?
Well, what drew me to the correctional population is that they're the marginalized of the marginalized.
Hmm.
I did this work to deal with people who otherwise who didn't have a chance, who when they were born, when their parents or their parents, they were set up from the beginning not to have a chance. And so I went into this field, with a focus on helping those people who did not, who had the deck stacked against them. And so it's really very rewarding to sit with a male inmate or a female inmate. They don't have a high school education, barely have a GED. And when you can explain certain psychological or therapeutic concepts and they get it, it is very, very rewarding and very satisfying. So it's personally rewarding. And then you can just see how the impact, the smallest things we do with that population, it has such long reaching effects, and it just kind of reverberates as they continue throughout. Even if they're not getting out anytime soon, it just really alters the rest of their sentence in a meaningful way. It alters their quality of life. So that's what really drew me. They're so more appreciative, and they value the attention and the insight and the thoughtfulness that a lot of them have not ever had, really.
Oh, it sounds to me like many of the people in the correction system have lacked encouraging relationships where people express a belief in them and encourage them to do better and be better. Is that
Well, there's some of that. It's a mixed bag, really. But there's also
that?
there are inmates who have had those, and they burn bridges. There are people who are incarcerated who had supportive networks and had a supportive neighborhood and had the village construct, but through some very unhealthy decision making, they burned those bridges and they burned through their loved ones. It's not the case that
Mm-hmm.
every inmate came from a broken home or didn't have a father and a mother, and
Mm-hmm.
no, it is the case that you'll come across some people who came from healthy, intact, traditional families and still made the decision to do what they did, and they burned through their relationships. So there's it's a very interesting subsection of people.
Wow. And so, what lessons do you? I mean, what do you want to say to everyone who is listening? They're quarantining at home. They're trying to figure out a routine, but it's tough to develop a routine in light of just all the challenges. Long lines at stores. It's like if
Right.
you say instead of it taking you 20, 30 minutes to get in and out of the store, you're looking at more. It takes about an hour. maybe 2 hours, depending on, you know, you have to, you can't just go anytime you want. I mean, just that change has affected
Well,
people. So.
I would highly recommend that you not try to acquire any new behavior during this time. Now is not the time for to ponder the meaning of life. I've seen a lot of memes about sitting and thinking. As of right now, everyone is biologically hardwired to survive, and your brain is already in that mode. And when you are trying to also engage in this thoughtful self-evaluation, you're trying to, well, not trying to, you're basically causing the brain to compete against itself, because as of right now, the brain is hardwired to survive. It is a very complicated and fascinating structure. So while that is happening, there's no need for you to exasperate the process by then compounding the problem by kind of figuring out, well, why am I here? Now is not the time for any meaningful change. So it's not the time to break up or to make up. At this time, you're supposed to be just maintaining from day to day. Maintenance is the primary function. Maintenance. I'm not talking about people.
No new friends.
No, let's not. We don't
No
need
new
anything.
friends.
Nothing. No new friends. Just shelter in place, even emotionally. There's no reason that you should be engaging in any sort of like meaningful, life-altering behavior in a state of panic.
Okay, so what does sheltering in place emotionally look like? And also, I had another question I wanted to ask you. You said something else. Shoot, let me get a pencil and paper, because I see you're throwing out a lot of interesting things.
Okay.
I'm gonna make some notes to myself. But what does sheltering in place emotionally mean?
Well, sheltering in place emotionally means not allowing yourself to do any sort of emotional investigation into some past trauma. Now is not the time to dig up previous trauma. Now is not the time to unearth grief and unresolved pain. It is not the time. Your brain has a primary function of surviving, and it is busy, and you don't have the access to the means to really counter the dream, the pain, the thoughts, the emotional fallout that comes with that. So in addition to surviving, worrying about toilet paper, you have now unearthed some things that should have better been explored in the presence of a professional. So when I say shelter in place, I'm meaning don't allow yourself to unearth or dig up deep-rooted, deep-seated early childhood trauma, any trauma of any kind. Now is not the time for that.
Well,
because, go ahead.
I can definitely identify with that, because everything that's going on in the world is kind of triggering for me, because of
Right.
things I've been through, and it's one of those things where I've told my family this has always been the noise in the background. What happened to me in 2003 and 2006, and you know it's been a daily struggle that I have gotten better at managing. But lately I've noticed that, okay, it's like, what can I do to not go back there?
Well, as of right now, distraction would be the healthiest thing, healthy distraction. Yoga with Adrienne. I also I follow Yoga with Adrienne on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
She's an excellent yoga instructor. Yoga mindfulness practice is excellent. We often think, well, lay people often think that the answer to dealing with distressing emotions is just to kind of get rid of them. Often that is not possible at this time. The anxiety that we have is appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
It's understandable, however situational. So what would be the healthiest course of action would be to really just engage in some mindfulness breathing, finding a place in your house or your apartment that's segregated from all the busyness, and by that I mean all the electronic devices, all of the noise, to quiet yourself and enjoy the quiet. I mean, if you listen to the world, it's quiet, and that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Mm-hmm. So what else do you do besides, physical activity? Because that's what I'm, getting from the yoga. I personally don't do yoga. I prefer like jump roping and running and playing with my son when he's riding his bike and stuff like that. But what other distractions do you recommend?
Well, as of right now, my primary and the most supported research-wise, I do believe is behavioral activation. Okay,
Now, what is
but the reason,
behavioral activation?
just get up and go, do something,
Just
that
do
creates.
something.
Get up and do something positive. Get
Now,
up and go.
get up and go. When you say get up and go, what does that mean in a world where we're being told to stay home, stay inside?
Get up and go. Brush your teeth.
Okay, brush your teeth. That's a good one.
Now, the reason why I say that is because, oftentimes in situations like this, we want to tackle these big, larger than life dilemmas, and it's not time for that. In the cases of panic, it's best just to keep it manageable, keep it simple. Don't lose sight of your basics.
Bake a cake.
Make a cake. Before you bake the cake, brush your teeth. Get out the bed. Make your bed.
Okay, let's break this all the way down. Okay. Alarm goes off. Ring.
Ring.
Okay. What is it about?
First of all, get out the bed the same time every day. Okay, even on the weekends, set the alarm. Okay. Make the bed. Make the bed.
Okay.
Go to the bed. Yeah. Go to the bathroom. Brush your teeth. Do your hair. Put your lip gloss on. However you prepare yourself for the day. Even though you're not outside, prepare yourself for the day.
So it's okay to put on makeup?
I would encourage it.
You would encourage us? Oh, okay. Put on your makeup, okay.
I mean, your best matte lipstick, whatever you got.
The best MAC, Mary Kay, whatever you got.
I have the Boss Lady by the Lip Bar. It's fabulous.
Oh, that's what you love?
Mm-hmm.
How about doing your nails? Is that something
you should have a steady supply of nail polish at the house? And you put on your cute pajamas. Don't put on the ones with the bleach stains.
So it sounds like now is the time for self-care.
Oh, 1,000%. And people don't know what that is. They try to make it kind of more complicated and large and out of your reach. But at times like this, you really have to grab hold of the fundamentals.
Okay, so self-care during coronavirus. So
absolutely.
So we get up in the morning, we've brushed our teeth, washed our cutest wig if we got to wear that.
Listen, you better go get the flyers one. Yeah, get you the flyers.
Okay, I got to plug California Hair Extensions. Got great wigs. So self-care during coronavirus. So we brush our teeth, we make up our bed. We put on our makeup, we do our hair, we make sure our nails are done, our hair is did. So what do we do next?
Okay, now remember, you put on the nice lounge wear. You don't have to be in your jeans or your suit, but you don't want the pajamas with the old grease stains and the bleach stains. You don't want those.
Okay.
Because if you look better, you'll feel better. You're not going to look better you're not going to feel too much better than how you look. There's a lot of congruence there.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you want to structure your day with activities that provide you a healthy distraction, like the yoga, reading, board games. Like,
you going to say prayer?
Prayer is good. It's the best thing for me as it pertains to spiritual beliefs. And you can pray and listen to D Nice on Instagram. You can do both.
Well, I prefer to pray, and I was listening this morning after I did my prayer, I was listening to the New Jersey Mass Choir song, Stand Up for Jesus, and that was a really funky tune. So what about a dance break? Is it taking a dance break sometime during
that's the only way to do it. Now, I listened, D Nice had a Instagram virtual club quarantine the other day for 9 hours.
Yeah, he did. But, Lady Z, I'm actually having one with DJ Hollywood on this Wednesday.
A Wednesday? Okay.
At 1 to 5 p.m. So we're going to shout out DJ Hollywood.
Okay. Yeah. No, you need to dance. And till you get sweaty, too. You got to get sweaty when you dance.
Okay, so let's talk about sweating during this time. Is sweating therapeutic? Because when I was sweating out there and running around the neighborhood with my son, I felt better. I felt like my burdens were gotten lightened. Was that just me imagining things, or?
No, it actually does. Your endorphins are probably going. You were probably releasing endorphins, and endorphins are a neurotransmitter that are released. It's similar to what's being produced, like when you have opioids. So you can really mimic a lot of feel-good drugs that are out there by being active, by moving your body.
Really? So when you sweat, when you exercise, that's equivalent to getting a mild hit of some of those.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, it is.
I never, you know what? I've never really done drugs, and I really never understood the attractiveness of drugs because I'm such a nerd, and anything that can hinder my mental capacity or function, I don't even want to try it or take chances with it because, you know, that's like besides my smile, my best feature. So that's really interesting. Man, you're really dropping some great nuggets of wisdom here.
For the more chronic depression, you know, that I've seen, which is rare compared to sort of the more commonly observed symptoms we see, that's a different beast. But for subclinical depression, or sadness, or feeling blues, or feeling down in the dumps, definitely, it's sort of like it adheres to, you know, what physics, a body in motion stays in motion.
Right, right.
You have to keep moving, and I think people, not just other people, but even myself, we resist the idea or the fact that our own levels of peace, joy, and contentment are within our own capabilities, because that increases the responsibility and accountability.
Wow, that's powerful. You know, one of the things I heard someone say earlier today when I was on a call was that they've been having a hard time developing a routine during this time. So what, besides, you know, being very committed to waking up at a certain time, how can we deal with the turmoil that comes with our emotions in the midst of us trying to keep a routine? How can we manage that dynamic?
I think it's too large of a question. It's a question that people bite off in terms of how can I manage this turmoil. Well, like I said, I believe in the KISS method. Keep it simple, sweetheart. It's really hard for you to manage any sort of pain or distress if you can't even brush your teeth at the same time every day. Start with the little things, okay? People are trying to
put it on a to-do list. Master the basics first.
Yes.
Say, okay, I realize that I have this emotional thing, but I'm going to choose to not address it right this moment. And I'm focused on making sure I brush my teeth. By the way, I can't help but to brush my teeth every morning.
Oh no, that's not a given. You would be amazed how many.
No. I understand. I don't take.
Oh, okay.
I understand.
Yeah.
So in 2003, when I gave birth to my daughter, I was diagnosed as manic depression.
Okay.
And I have been in multiple psych wards from 2003 until 2014. So I definitely understand that dynamic. And I have to give my soul coach a shout out because she gave me the tools and answered those questions. You know, those deep questions that you're saying now is not the time for. Those deep questions that I have been spending years unpacking and getting the tools to be highly resourced, to be able to recognize those emotions and to recognize those events and be able to make a decision on how I'm going to deal with it.
Yes. Yes.
So
the deep questions you'll save for later. For right now, it's wash your hands. Let's keep it all simple.
So brush your teeth, wash your hands, make sure you got your nail polish. If you're a guy, make sure you have your Just for Men. If you got the spray.
The Old Spice. And just engage in human decency. I have been out and people look genuinely and understandably look petrified and terrified. And so with that, people are not speaking to each other as often. They're not as comfortable with acknowledging, you know, when people are panicky and they are afraid, we are quick oftentimes to lose sight of each other's humanity because we're so focused on preserving our own lives. But let's not lose sight of each other's humanity, that I'm also scared, but so are you. I'm worried about my family, but you're also worried about your family. Let's not lose sight of the empathy, the human decency, the kindness. I think this is a sort of back to basics moment that we've all been regulated to. And I think we've lost sight of that. And I don't know if it was by design or not. I'm saying what we ought to do is take advantage of the time we've been given.
Well, I know one thing. I am so happy my social calendar has slowed down.
Hmm.
And then all of a sudden, I got busy again.
How long was it slowed down for?
About a week.
Oh,
About a week.
and then you were back up.
Yeah. And then, I'm doing the surviving coronavirus Facebook lives. If you go to my Instagram or my Facebook, well, not Instagram, we're going to be live streaming just on Facebook. If you go there and follow me or DJ Hollywood, you'll see it this Wednesday. But, I think for me, when all this quarantine happened, I was like, oh, thank God I don't have to be present for something else and try to figure out how I'm gonna squeeze all my work in around it. And now it's like I'm finding my son has just been blossoming. He's been building things with his Legos, with his Mega Blocks. He's been just, I mean, I've been studying Spanish. I mean, we've been doing that. That's a daily thing that we already had going before all this happened. And I'm actually helping him with his homework and able to read it now.
Yes.
And I'm just like, wow, this little bit of 10, 15 minutes a day is actually really starting to bear fruit. So I think it's really important, like you said, to really no new routine.
No new routine.
But pick something. Take care of yourself. Get up.
Take care of yourself.
Even if it takes you however long it takes you, but get up and brush your teeth.
Yes.
Now, I have another question, and I'm going to tell on myself a little bit. I have been getting up, I've been eating, I've been brushing my teeth, but how do you give yourself permission to not do anything? Because what about us workaholics? I'm an extrovert and a workaholic.
Yes.
So what advice do you have for us?
Well, just tips. I can't say, legally, I can't say that this is advice because that constitutes like a clinical intervention.
What suggestions do you have?
Suggestions that I have, well, it really depends on what function the being a workaholic is. I mean, are you being productive or are you being busy?
Oh, I'm being productive.
Okay, well then as long as it's in line with your values, then you have to determine the level of congruence that you can live with. I mean, I imagine that you might be sacrificing because there's only 24 hours in a day.
Right.
There's 24 hours in your day and there's 24 hours in my day.
Right.
So to the degree that you are busy and productive, you also have to understand that you are sacrificing something. And whatever you are sacrificing, is it worth it?
Right. And I think the thing that I have been sacrificing is my sleep. And I know now is not the time to really be sacrificing sleep.
No. Sleep hygiene is really interesting. It's difficult, especially the older you get. When you're a woman, we go through hormonal changes. But you have to kind of self-reflect and say, okay, I'm pursuing X, Y, and Z. I'm busy, but to what degree? Because you're always going to give up something to give something. That's a natural governing law that cannot be broken.
Right.
So you can acquire, you can be busy, and you can be productive, but at whose expense?
Right. So I think my next question to you is, what about those who are quarantining alone?
Oh, that's rough. I do imagine
I am so concerned. Like anytime I know my single friends call me and I know they live by themselves, I pick up the phone, I drop whatever I'm doing because I'm really not a big fan of silence. I like conversation. Like I said, I'm an extrovert. So, what advice do you have for, especially for the single extrovert?
Well, we're assuming with the question that that's not a place you would want to be, and I'm not so sure that that is the case. That is not a, it's not a sentence.
Mm-hmm.
That is something actually that can be perceived based on your perception and how you change your way of thinking. That is a gift,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So in your question, it would seem like, wow, they're struggling or that's somehow negative. That's not a given that that's a negative space.
Right.
And it's not necessarily the case that they are struggling. It can be, but not necessarily.
Right.
Like I said, it can be a gift to sit alone with yourself, with your thoughts, and reflect on your thoughts, not to the degree where you're going to solve 10 years of previous childhood trauma, but being alone with yourself, present and mindful, is a gift. It's not a sentence.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about, and in order to get to that place, you have to change your way of thinking. It is a gift to have the gift of time, because see, you can always have more money. You can always create clothes. You can always buy material things, but no one can redeem the time.
Mm-hmm.
To be given the gift of time is something that's out of our control. And if you've been given the gift of time, I think that's a wonderful thing, because no one can produce more of it.
Right. Now, what about those who are quarantining the families? Where you have multiple adults, and you have two scenarios. You have the family, family that's quarantining together, and then you have the roommates.
Yes. Well, you know, the deep discussions, you know how, like I said, let's say you have a family and you have a husband and wife that are on the brink, and you quarantine. Now is not the time to bring up the suspicious text from 2 years ago.
Okay, so in other words, now is the time to say, hey, over here, give me a hug.
Not even if you don't have, no, it's not the time to be like,
let's play this board game.
Let's play this board game.
Just give me a hug. Just don't talk. Just give me a hug.
Just sometimes,
oh my,
maybe you're not even there, but now is not the time to go digging. Put your shovels down. You know,
put the shovels down. You heard it here, right? You heard it first.
Put the shovels down. Like, oh yeah, remember last year when we went out and we were at the bar, and then you stared at Big Booty Judy for too long.
Oh my gosh, don't do it. Don't bring it up.
Don't bring up Big Booty Judy.
No, don't do it.
No, because you know women, we
don't
have memories.
Hands on Fred.
No. Don't bring up, being quarantined with the kids, and you know what? I would lower my expectations, in terms of we're only going to be civilized some parts of the day. Other times they may, especially children, they may need to run wild, especially if you live in an apartment building. They can't sit down all day. So you have to be flexible and kind of allowing them to maybe jump on the couch once or twice, whereas before you'd be like, come on, sit down. So you have to be a little, you have to be flexible. Flexible is a gift that's underrated. Now is the time.
My son just heard you say that. So
flexible.
Don't be jumping on stuff, please.
Wait, because I don't want you to break your neck. Like, no.
I don't want you to break your neck.
That's not crowd surfing. Don't do it on the dive. Don't dive off the couch, sir.
So okay. So kids, when I heard that testing for the school year was canceled, I immediately, the nerd in me, after going to MIT and taking classes at Harvard and
nice.
The nerd in me was like, okay, so my son has a little bit more time to stay on track. But for the parents who are, obsessive about the academics, what can we do to not drive our kids crazy?
Well, if you're like a type A achiever, you're probably prone to be like a helicopter parent, and you want them to stay on top of things. And, even in school, the teachers allow the room for error. I don't think that we allow our kids and people to make mistakes freely. Allow them to make mistakes. Allow them to get this wrong more than once.
And
allow the people.
Yeah, and don't fall apart when they get it wrong.
Don't, no, please don't. Okay, you just no. Allow the children to get it wrong, and allow your spouse or your significant other to make mistakes along the way as we're all navigating this coronavirus atmosphere.
Wow.
Somebody told me, one of my colleagues told me that somebody told him or her the best advice he'd ever heard, or best advice I'd ever heard, was allow people to fail you. Said that the one of the best advice that I had gotten from a colleague was letting people fail you.
Mhm.
Give permission. Um, give permission to people to fail you. You know, they will. Oftentimes we look for how to. We're so fixated as a culture on how to do this. We want formulas for everything. We want steps for everything.
Mhm.
You know, we want procedure.
Right.
Procedure is safe.
Mhm.
Because there's a certain amount of predictability and procedure and formulas, right? A certain amount of reliability, and that provides comfort. And so that's why we look for, well, if there's a formula, if there's a how-to, I can do this, you can do this, and there's a certain amount of replicability that we also value. But we have been thrown a wild card. And so it's testing everybody's ability to live in the moment without the how-to. It's extending.
Wow, that's powerful. Living in the moment.
Yeah.
Without the
how-to. Without the how-to.
Boy, I mean, I just felt that right here. That just resonated, reverberated, because we have this expectation to have a schedule and to have a whole process by which we get from A to B through our day. Living in the moment.
Without the how-to.
Without the how-to.
Mm-mm.
And being able to be okay and at peace.
Without the how-to.
Living in the moment. Wow. So how can you...
I do have an exercise. Like, one thing you could try that's real simple. Like one day, perhaps, after this, try saying "I don't know" to every answer to every question somebody asks you.
Say,
yes, yeah.
Okay, so ask me a question.
Like you want to
right now? I want to practice right now. Come on, Dr. Green.
You want to say I don't? You want to say I don't? Okay. So what's the first thing you're going to do when we're not quarantined?
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. You don't have to know. Mm-mm. Don't plan to know.
So what I just got out of that exercise was the mental freedom to not have to think and speculate on something that I don't even know down the line when that line is going to be. I don't know.
Yep. And people will become very, if you notice, while also observing your own emotions and what that comes along with. Watch how people respond to I don't know. Because people are often, it makes them also insecure because there's something that they are demanding from you. But don't let people's demands of you take on that anxiety and that discomfort. Don't let people's demands detract from your freedom.
That's powerful because, one thing I have been feeling lately, I've been feeling like a lot of people have been pulling on me.
Right.
And I shut it down.
Yeah.
I shut it down and I'm not answering my phone as often.
Mm-hmm.
As a result, and then I'm directing my clients to post their questions in my Facebook group. So when I'm there and when I'm present, whenever I do pop in my group, then I'm fully present to answer.
Yeah. No, I totally understand. Just, try it. I recommend it. You know, it's something just to kind of, and then journal at the end of the day. Like have a day of, I don't know, and then see what your brain and your emotions, what that was like after a whole 24 hours or however long you, no, I don't, even if you know, try willful ignorance. You know, I don't know. You're like, you don't know? Nope, I got no clue. And the more you say it, the more comfortable. You're like, nope, I don't know. And I'm comfortable with that.
I want to practice that.
I don't know. They're like, what do you mean you don't know? Again, I don't have the foggiest idea.
Joshua,
What?
you have a question for me?
You're gonna
Now, you know, for the parents with kids,
Going out of the room.
I've tried that with my son on multiple occasions. I said, I don't know. He's like, Mom.
Oh
kids
no.
expect the parents to have answers.
Well, yes, and that's a decision that you're going to have to. How much are you comfortable with in terms of how much are you comfortable with in allowing your children to see just how human you are? What's your level of comfort with allowing your children to see?
With that. I'm not comfortable with that.
That's a real honest answer, though. That's an
I'm
honest
not,
answer.
because you know. I'm not comfortable with that for a multitude of reasons.
Mhm.
I'm gonna have to pray on that one.
It's okay, yeah.
Yeah, that one that's like adult peer to peer.
Yeah.
Like, but with kids, like, you know, it's like I'm concerned about my son's ability because you know when this all first happened, he had a hard time going to sleep,
Mhm.
and it wasn't the usual, you know, shenanigans to not get out of going to bed. I could tell he was genuinely affected by it all. And the kids are affected. So how can we as parents comfort our children during these times and not spaz out on them?
Well, I think you have to, like, it goes back to the question, you have to determine how much of your comfort level with your own humanity. And in that, you have to come to terms with your own anxiety, right? Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't suggest not modeling being afraid or not modeling being anxious, but I would help them learn the language, how to articulate fear. Oftentimes we resort to behavioral responses when it comes to fear and anxiety. But before you get there, learning the language of how to share feelings of fear and panic. It is a conversation that can be had. You don't always have to respond in fear. We skip that.
So I have another question. I have another question for you. It seems to me that expressing feelings of fear, even in times where things are good, is not really that cool to express that. So how do you acknowledge? I mean, everybody's scared right now.
Mm-hmm.
They may not be scared of the same aspect of what we're going through, but they're scared about some aspect of it.
Yes.
There's a lot of aspects. So how can we articulate it in such a way that we don't go down this, you know, emotional abyss?
Well, we don't know about who's going to go and who's not. There's no way to control that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
See, even your language suggests that you're trying to control something. Like, how do we do this? Again, your language is, how do we do this to prevent this? That is not the nature of emotions when it comes to humanity.
Right.
How to, so we don't, how to do this, so we don't do this. How to do this. It's very preventative in nature.
So what is the right question? I mean, just the language of talking about, you know, routine and and just trauma, and what is the right way to, what is the most effective way to be in the moment and to address these challenges?
Well, even that, what you just did, I saw you. Do you mind if I give you some feedback about what I have done?
Yeah, give me some feedback, yeah.
when you stopped and you started to go down the emotional abyss, quote unquote, you were headed down there. You were headed there. I saw your brain, your thoughts beget more thoughts, and you were headed there. But then you redirected and you brought yourself back to your moment, and it was very organic, and you slowed yourself down and you brought yourself to the moment, and your whole face just sort of kind of fell flatter, and you were able to take a deeper breath and just be with me right here, right now, and nothing else existed. I will say there are no easy how-tos. There are no easy how-tos.
Right.
And we are looking in the state of fear and panic. It's very human and understandable to reach for predictability, reliability, control. When you're scared, you reach for safety, and that's understandable. But understanding that sometimes you don't have that option, and that the experience of fear and panic is not the most horrible thing in the world.
Why?
It is built into our biology. The experience of fear makes us human. There is no getting around it. You can't eradicate it. It's here to stay.
You have to just go through it.
You have to. And understand that in the most fearful and panicky of times, organically, you will experience things that you could not have otherwise thought about when you were happy. There are only some things you will come to know and discover about yourself and other people when you are distressed. And that is the irony.
Wow.
And that cannot be undone. That is the nature. Yeah. There's no easy way. So that's I would like people to know as a reminder that in these moments when you're the most distressed, sometimes that's where the most learning occurs. That's sometimes where your awareness is being refined. You're being attuned to who you are and who other people are. It's being refined. It must be. There must be pain.
Right.
There must be. We can't get around it.
Can't get around it.
No.
Yeah. So.
Mom, are there monsters in the triangle in the middle with the sea? Monsters?
I don't know.
Not funny.
Oh, okay.
Do I have to come over here?
No.
It's gonna happen.
So you started something now. So
no couch surfing, no couch diving, please. Look.
So this has been a great interview. So what are your concerns? What do you want people to know about this season that we're in? You know, from your professional thoughts about this.
I'm really concerned about how much people are inundating themselves with the news and social media. You know, I would really caution against bombarding yourself with updates. You know, some people are updating through Instagram, Facebook, the CNN app, and they have it on MSNBC. They kind of have this constant ticker of information, and that's not helpful. And then,
so your brain needs time to process.
Oh, it needs a break.
Right.
And then,
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's too much. It's way, way too much.
Yeah, it's too much to get all those notifications constantly. You know, I try to limit myself to two news outlets whenever I do look, and I try to do it. Well, I mean, I think there was a day, was it either Sunday or Monday? I really didn't look at any news really.
And I would recommend reading it instead of watching it and listening to it.
We'd recommend reading instead of watching the videos.
Oh, yes. You know who really gets me? David Murrow. God bless him. He's a really talented anchor. But, they have those little snippets where they have like the man or organization of the week. and they're highlighting something good or positive that the person is doing.
All right.
The ABC, what's that, ABC, David Muir?
Uh-huh.
He had the snippet and they highlight a person or organization as doing well.
Uh-huh.
And those are tear jerkers. It's like, I'm never happy. I don't really feel like, what am I watching this? So you have to really limit how you're taking in this kind of information. Reading it, listening to it, talking about it. That's like 3 out of the 5 senses already.
Right. And then when you go to the store, you see the empty shelves.
So you're living it, you're hearing about it, you're reading it, so it's already taken over your majority of your senses. Choose a sense. Choose to read it and stick with that, or choose to watch it and stick with that. But reading, watching, talking about it is too much. Take one of the senses and kind of and stay there. But you shouldn't. We only have about 5 senses. If you have 5, I mean, if you have 5, that's it. That's the majority.
Wow. That's a heck of a food for thought.
Yeah.
That's food for thought. This has been a powerful, powerful episode of the Jazz and Tech Lounge with Lady Z, where we had Dr. LaShonda Green here with us.
Thank you.
This is the first video interview podcast episode ever in the history of this podcast. And
I made history.
Yeah, you're the first.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. You're the first. So I just want to say thank you, because these are some unprecedented times with some unprecedented challenges, and it's causing us to do some unprecedented things. Mm-hmm. And we're all in this together.
Absolutely.
We're all in this together.
Absolutely.
And, I just want to thank you again. Now, if people want to connect with you on social media, or do you have anything where you're putting out any encouraging or insightful advice during this time on any digital outlets?
Yes, I'm currently on Facebook at Dr. LaShonda. My handle is DrLashonda. Mm-hmm. I'm on Instagram, and I'm currently I post. I'm on 28 days. I started a hashtag as well as a nonprofit in New Jersey. It's called 365 Days Do It Afraid. And the goal is that on the days that you decide to do something, you do it not in spite of fear, not waiting till the fear subsides. You do it afraid. You do the thing you are doing with the fear. Do it afraid, whatever your it is. So every time I talk, I always have a hashtag 365 days, do it afraid, pushing people outside of their comfort zone, helping them to understand that fear is part of the process, it's here to stay. Trying to get rid of it is kind of a fruitless endeavor.
Yeah, this is you, right? At Dr. LaShonda on Instagram, right?
Yes, that's me.
Yep, I'm following you. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm following you. Mm-hmm.
But yes. Yeah. And on Facebook, I do have my other page. I'm at Dr. How does Facebook do it? I'm Dr. LaShonda Green PsyD MBA on Facebook.
I'm gonna do a search and see if it pops up, and if it doesn't pop up, I'll pop it in the.
Okay.
It's a page or a profile.
It's.
Oh, I see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah, I just liked it. This is awesome. Yeah, this is awesome. Okay, so I'm following you. So I'm like, thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Yes, thank you very much for having me. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for the exposure. Thank you for the conversations and the questions. I appreciated them. I thought they were good questions.
Yeah, I really think that you should continue sharing your advice, and I'll probably have you come on in a couple of weeks if that's okay.
Oh yeah, this is
On
good.
again.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
because I don't know how long this is going to last, but I think we could all use some support in this area. I know I would.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think this is making people come together who really otherwise wouldn't have. I probably wouldn't have met you.
Right,
And
right,
I'm grateful for that.
right. Me too.
Yeah.
And I'm actually working on a book um, that it's called Black Brilliant and Maybe Bipolar. If you go to blackbrilliantmaybebipolar.com, you can actually sign up for
Okay.
the email list to be notified when it's available. It's going to be
Nice. Okay.
paperback and